Hey, everybody, welcome to the Buck Brief. We got our buddy Kurt Schlichter back in the house, the man himself. He is a lawyer. He is many, many years in the United States military. He's a senior columnist at townhall.com. He's an author. He's got a new book coming out, which makes a great stocking stuffer, but for early next year, right? Because technically you can't stock your stuffing with it yet because it's coming out the first week of January, but you should pre-order it if you can. The Attack by Kurt Schlichter coming out January 8th. Mr. Kurt, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've got my Noel going on.
That's good to know. So I wanted to know, for you, this is a little bit of a year in review and then a year look ahead show, right? What for you is the biggest and most interesting story of 2023? Like what were you just as fired up about as anything?
Well, look, I think the story that sums up 2023 was the Senate staffer and his buddy uh, making it happen in the Senate hearing room. I think that perfectly encapsulated everything
Wow.
about this year, from gross leftism to bizarre perversion to a total contempt for our norms and our institutions. I
Yeah,
think
you,
that
you
would,
can
that, yeah, I
tell
mean, that's like
Kurt's
the perfect ending, so to
Kurt's
speak.
really in the Christmas spirit, apparently, with it's like the worst year ever. I thought you were going to tell me. All right, so
I
you
mean,
didn't.
I mean, look at this. You've got America is in retreat around the globe. We have a economy that's in the dumpster. We have an alleged president who's trying to, if not arrest, at least disenfranchise his political opponent. I mean, there's so much to choose from. At Harvard, you have a midwit diversity hire who's a plagiarist, who's heading America's allegedly greatest university. I mean, it's Jimmy Carter is just happy that he's not going to pass on to his reward before seeing a worse president than him.
A lot of people are just listening to this, so they don't really see it because they don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, which they should. YouTube
Yeah.
Buck Sexton for the Buck Brief. But this is one thing people say. Oh, you have such. They will comment on my luxurious mane, and what they don't understand, Kurt, a lot of maintenance goes into this, and it can get crazy. Like right now,
It doesn't just happen.
it started sticking off to the side like a Dennis the Menace situation, and there's nothing I can do about it, So while it is a blessing, it is also a curse. This is a total non sequitur. Let's get back to the real things. What for you is the thing that in terms of the stories of the past year? Is there anything that you think we're going to get a particularly joyous resolution to in the coming year, whether it's a conflict abroad or a election here at home? I mean, what's kind of making you hopeful, Grinch, after your whole everything sucks, America's getting his butt kicked or whatever?
I know, right? I'm becoming one of those guys, and I hate that. Look, I have hope for America, but it's always darkest before the dawn. And don't worry, it can always get worse. Uh, Look,
Wait, okay, can I ask you?
mean,
Can I ask you a real question? Because you're a military guy. My concern here is, so we're both we both had a little eggnog with a little spiked rum, probably, even though it's morning as we're doing this podcast. But
in a bit.
but looking, yeah, I mean, is it ever too early for eggnog? It's a food group, but I would say,
Hey, man, it's always Christmas somewhere.
that's also true. But on to like a real question for you on the military side. My concern is with the Ukraine thing. You'll notice the funding continues, but people putting the Ukraine flags in their bio, that's kind of gone down a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like somehow it's now on autopilot. Like it's not the thing that all the libs are like, oh, like they're about to go and fight, alongside the Ukrainian military or something. That has died down, right? But, the people that had the syringes for the vaccine alongside the flag, now it's just the syringes and even less of that. The Ukraine flags are disappearing too. Are we just going to keep funding this thing, though, for the next year, and no one's really going to care about America getting, I don't know, we'll be $300 billion in the hole over this thing, and nothing changes? It's not even like one side is winning or losing, really. It's just like a stalemate.
it's a stalemate. But knowing something about history gives us kind of an advantage over all the people running this country. What Russia does is it loses initially, then it rebuilds, then it counterattacks, then it destroys its enemy. And it's true under Napoleon. That was true against Hitler, and I think it's going to be true about Ukraine. And I like Ukraine. I went and trained Ukrainian soldiers. I don't think they should have been invaded. I'm not for Russia. I was actually in the Cold War, while a lot of the people with Ukrainian flags were sucking up to the KGB-sponsored nuclear freeze movement. So it doesn't give me a pleasure to say, but Ukraine is running out of Ukrainians. I have heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, that the average age of a Ukrainian soldier is 43 years old. If true, that's not good. That's bad. And there are millions of young Ukrainian men who've already voted with their feet. They're all over Europe. They've emigrated. They're not fighting for their country. I think what we're going to get out of our 300 billion is Russia is going to have all its old equipment wiped out, so it's going to build new modern equipment, and it's going to have all its bad generals killed, and then get new generals who know how to fight. So they will come out with a stronger military. We will come out with a weaker one because we're using up our stocks of ammunition, like 155 millimeter shells and HIMARS missiles or rockets. And we're absolutely not learning anything either, because the United States military is incapable of learning.
Well, also, though, I mean, I wonder about this sometimes. From the time I was in CIA and then many years afterwards, I got a sense as to how we have, if you're trying to find people who can in close quarters combat go into a house and smoke a bunch of Al Qaeda guys. We got the best guys in the world at that. I mean, our Delta guys and SEALs and Rangers and SF and all these, like MARSOC, all these guys got, the skill set that they developed over these wars, and then through the actual, experiential component of it from fighting for so many years, we're amazing at that. Are we amazing, though, at the sending tanks across a battlefield, massive amounts of ammunition, artillery support, and all of that at the level we would have to be if we were going to fight against a Russia or a China? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. And 33 years ago, I was in the Gulf War, or about to be in the Gulf War. And that's what we did. We knew how to do that. We knew how to integrate battlefield operating systems to synchronize our operations. We still do training at National Training Center sometimes, but I've got very little faith in our generals. Our generals have a proven track record of failure. They have not won a major war unequivocally since the aforementioned Gulf War. I don't know if they can do conventional fight. I don't know if we have the ammunition to do it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, do we even have the industrial base to support a major? Because I was reading articles a year ago, well, I guess it was like 9 months ago, but New York Times articles, etc., where they were saying we may run out of the capacity to help the Ukrainians have the capacity to keep firing artillery rounds off. And I was like, really?
I was looking at something about a artillery shell making plant in the U.S. and they were trying to make like 170 shells an hour, which sounds like a lot. An artillery battalion is going to put 170 shells out in about 10 minutes. That's one artillery battalion out of what needs to be hundreds. Yeah, we're not a serious country about the military. We are a serious country about frivolous nonsense like DEI and equity and weird trans nonsense.
I want to ask you about that, but hold on for 1 second, because from our sponsor here for a moment, Kurt was just talking about how messed up things have gotten. Well, when Biden botched the Afghan withdrawal, that was a sign of things to come, and now we know that the world is looking more destabilized and America's looking weaker on the world stage because of decisions made by our leadership. Russia invaded Ukraine. We're talking about these things. And now we've got real violence breaking out all in the Middle East, and it could spread beyond the current battlefield. But former Wall Street insider Tika Tiwari, you've heard of us talking about him on the program from time to time. Tika believes our biggest risk is not an expanding war, but the collapse of the U.S. dollar. That's the centerpiece of everything. If that goes, forget about all these other things we're talking about. Tika has released an informative video that he thinks could help you prepare for this possibility. Go to moveyourcashnow.com to learn the 3 steps you need to take to prepare and grow your wealth, actually, in the coming months and year, but you have to know how. Go to moveyourcashnow.com, moveyourcashnow.com, paid for by Palm Beach Research Group. All right, now, do you think it's just a matter of time? And I really mean this, or do you think that they would draw some kind of a line? Is it just a matter of time before we have and I'm being honest, like I'm asking the real question, a purple-haired, nose-ringed, non-binary, like 3 or 4 star general? Is that coming in the actual military, not
Yes.
Health and Human Services or something?
No, it is. When I wrote the People's Republic books, which features that sort of thing, I thought, let me talk about crazy stuff. The crazy stuff is happening, and that will happen because the military has lost its capacity to say, this is nonsense, we're a serious organization. They are now a petri dish for bizarre social pathologies. And we have the track record of defeat to prove it.
Can I ask, do any of your friends, colleagues, brothers in arms, the military, that are somewhat like-minded to us, do they push back on this? Who are still inside? Are they like, guys, look, there's some of that stuff, but it's not this bad? Or are they like, no, it actually is this bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, does anyone say, the right-wing media is taking this too far? I agree we shouldn't have all this nonsense, but it's going too far? Or is this what they're really seeing?
No, this is what they're seeing. It's the point where the retired guys like me, we don't recommend anyone join the military.
Wow.
And it kills me. That's kills
rough.
me to say, don't join the military right now. But why should you? They hate you if you're a normal person. They despise you. You are not in a serious organization. Look, as a lawyer, I represented one of the families of one of the guys killed in Kabul. So I was there when, the Marine Corps came and briefed them on what allegedly happened. And I watched what the Marine Corps told this family whose son was killed through the gross incompetence of the military. And then I watched later as there was sworn testimony in front of Congress that was different than what the Marine Corps told the family about the circumstances of their son's death. So it is, it's a disgrace. It is unserious. Our enemies, I think the reason our enemies haven't acted is because they can't fully believe we're as bad as we actually are. But I don't understand why Xi doesn't just take Taiwan. Like, we're going to stop them?
Well, I keep saying that, I just actually spoke to, Bridge Colby, very, very smart guy. Elbridge Colby.
I know who he is. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you guys should hang because he's, he's a military strategist, academic, but, a really sound, he knows the info, but also has a sound mind about what you can do with it. And we're talking about the Taiwan thing. And he's like, look, they're taking Taiwan. Like, it's just a question of when. Like, they're telling us they're going to take Taiwan. They're going to take Taiwan. And we have to sit here and think, what are we really, if that call comes, if that happens, you think a Biden administration is going to understand how to either stop it, de-escalate it, or whatever? I mean, they're probably just going to be like, whoa, let's go to the UN. So I think there are reasons to believe that China sees a big opening, especially if you get another Democrat administration for 4 years. But hold on, I want to ask you about your book, Kurt. But first up, I mean, if you want to be a fierce specimen operating at the highest possible level, like my man Kurt Schlichter, you got to have the right biochemistry going on. And that's what you get from our friends at Chalk. In fact, they've got a new pre-workout at Chalk. It's called Chad Mode because, Kurt, bit of a Chad. I'd like to think I'm trying to get to Chad Mode myself. But Chad Mode is a phenomenal pre-workout, one that I think you will really enjoy. Honestly, it's the best pre-workout I've ever had. All jokes and kidding around aside, it is the best pre-workout I've ever tried. The only problem is I get so fired up that I'll spend 2 hours in the gym instead of like 30 and then go home and cry to mommy. I'll spend 2 hours in the gym and then I'm super sore afterwards, but it's awesome. Like, if you really want to have that fire in the belly, Chad mode is amazing. Go to Chalk's website to pick up some Chad mode for yourself. CHOQ.com. That's CHOQ.com. You get a 35% discount when you use my name, Buck, in the purchase process. That's Chalk, CHOQ.com. Use my name, Buck, for a 35% savings. You can also check out the Male Vitality Stack, but go to Chalk.com. Go check it out today. All right, The Attack, your book, coming out first week January. A lot of people will be listening to this going into the new year, so it'll be just days away from release. Tell me about the book, Kurt.
Well, look, after 10/7 happened, I pitched my traditional publisher, hey, why don't I write a nonfiction about what a terrorist attack in the United States would look like? And the my publisher said, why don't you write it as a novel? And I did in about 6 weeks. It is not a Kelly Turnbull. It is not a People's Republic novel. It is a standalone, but it is informed by a lot of people I know from the intelligence community, from politics, from the military. It is looks at what a terrorist attack, a massive terrorist attack through our southern border, would look like in the United States. It talks about our vulnerabilities. It talks about our lack of defenses. Buck, I had to cut stuff out because I didn't want to give these creeps ideas. But we're very, very vulnerable. And this book, it's entertaining. It is exciting. And it looks at from all angles, from individual people to a president of the United States who is completely out to lunch. And I decided I would release it through Amazon because I want to beat this happening. I don't want this to happen before the book comes out. So it's coming out in early January. You'll be able to pre-order it. And it is, I got to say, it's a pretty damn good book.
Excellent stuff. Telling everybody, go check out The Attack by Mr. Kurt Schlichter. He's written some fantastic novels, done very well for himself as a result. Well-deserved. I'm going to have some closing Christmas thoughts for you, sir, or rather ask you for your closing Christmas thoughts in a second. But first up, speaking of Christmas gifts that you can get yourself any day of the year, actually, the team at MyPillow has the My Towels now. These are manufactured with an amazing type of cotton, Sherper cotton. I had not heard of this before, I'll be honest with you. It's the best cotton you can get for towels. MyPillow has figured all this out. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got the softest, most absorbent towels you're ever going to get. Ring spun cotton. You get a 6-piece towel set right now from the My Towels at MyPillow for as low as $29.98. That's right, less than $30 for a 6-piece towel set. You get the designer premium line for just $20 more. No matter what set you decide on, that's a 50% savings. Just go to mypillow.com. That's mypillow.com. Click on the radio listener special square. Check out the new My Towel 6-piece towel set. Get 50% in savings. Enter promo code BUCK for this special and many more. Kurt, give us either a Christmas tradition, a Christmas movie recommendation, or life wisdom for 2024. What have you your pick, dealer's choice.
Well, look, for me, my birthday is the day before Christmas. I'm going to be 128 years old. And I always cook spaghetti because it's red and it's got peppers in it, so it's green. It's a very Christmassy thing. But, I like traditions. I like the Christmas spirit. I like the optimism because, we're optimistic people, Buck. We're not going to give in. We're not going to roll over. We're not going to take this. I'm not giving over my country to anybody. I'm making it happen. And that is, and maintaining your traditions and stubbornly celebrating Christmas as opposed to happy holidays, generic nonsense. I think that makes a statement. It takes a stand.
I like it. Go check out The Attack, Kurt Schlichter's book, out first week of January, and follow Kurt on social media. Sir, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.